Arizona at the Rams, Thursday night NFL, and this is the best bet from our newest contributor, Chris Andrews, 30 years a bookmaker. Who do you like and why?
I like the Rams in this game. I think Arizona's been winning games with defense, special teams that only last so long. They're 4-0. Nobody ever saw this coming out of this team. But I think the Rams right now look like they have things turned in the right direction. I look for a nice home field advantage on Thursday night. I like the Rams to win this one.
You know, let's talk about that. We did some research on it. If you look back from 1989 onward in the NFL, Thursday night home teams was, I think, 59.5%, almost 60%. And the NFL is a league of routine, and it's a situation where you throw a routine off, and then you make them go on the road. It's even tougher. When you were behind the counter, how did you guys account for that home away on Thursday night?
Well, I think that's a great point. And you look at a team like Arizona, they've been flying high. Now all of a sudden that routine is broken up. So what happens? Instead of all your normal preparation, I mean, you have one travel day besides a short preparation. You know, they're human just like the rest of us. They're reading all the accolades and how great they've been. And really, when you break them down, they really are very challenged running the football. Then you're looking at Kevin Kolb, who's played really well so far. But listen, he's not – we kind of know what Kevin Kolb is. He's a decent quarterback. He's okay. But I think Jeff Fisher's going to throw some wrinkles at him. I think on a Thursday with a short preparation, all the factors weighing in on that, I think the Rams are clearly the right side.
So, Ace, when we were talking about which games and who was going to pick what, he trumped you with the best bet, but you wanted a free pick on the Rams.
Yeah.
What was your main point?
I agree with you 100%. I think Arizona's as phony as a $3 bill. Let's put it that way. The last time this team was 4-0, they were in St. Louis, and Don Coryell was the coach. So this team is fake.
I was in high school then, by the way.
Don Coryell, the Godfather?
Yeah, he coached. He bet the game. No
wonder they didn't cover.
This team's winning with smoke and mirrors. They're not for real. When you look at them.
So let me ask you the question, though, because we have this argument a lot. People will say, this team isn't as good as 4-0, but then you look at the line and you say, wait a minute, Vegas knows that. Like in the Vegas rankings, I'm just going off the top of my head, and Chris, you contribute to those, but if I remember correctly, in the Vegas rankings, I think the consensus has Arizona like 20th right now.
Exactly.
So the question is, if you look at this number, do you think that it's built in that they're 4-0, or is it accounted for that that they're fraudulent in some ways?
I think at first they opened it at 3, and right away the bettors let them know, at least the professional bettors let them know this team's fraudulent, and that's why now we're looking at a line as low as 1.5. So I think they saw value right away at St. Louis. I think they added the fact it's a Thursday night game. You look at the fact that St. Louis is 2-0 at home. This is a team that's 2-2. St. Louis is not a bad team. And now they get back one of their best run stoppers on the defensive line, and that's the only weakness they've had defensively. And I really don't see Arizona doing much on offense. They've been able to get turnovers and score with a short field. I think that's where they've gotten lucky. That's why they're 4-0. And also, I think the line came out a little bit inflated because if you look at the series, they've won 9 out of 10 games against St. Louis. They've owned them.
Well, you know, I'm always questioning the series stats unless it's the same coaches.
Agreed.
Once you have coaches change, you know, we saw last week with the Eagles and Giants, there was some series stats, but it made more sense because Coughlin and Reed had been there a long while. Last question is, as a bookmaker, again, and that's the perspective we really want to dip into, what's your thoughts on betting that second and third number? I would agree with you at +3. Is it a situation now that you're betting the second or third number? How do you handle? You've seen a lot of people chasing that steam, and I'm sure very few of them won.
Well, what's the right number is what you have to ask yourself. So if 3, was the wrong number. Well, I look at my numbers, and I made the Rams the favorite because you're right. I put the Cardinals, I can't remember exactly, but around 18 or 20 right in there. That's where I think they rank in the NFL. And VR hit a great point. What's their one weakness you have for the Rams, and that's their rush defense.
And now you got Michael Brockers back.
You got him back, and Arizona isn't the kind of team that could exploit that weakness. So I think this is a matchup that highly favors the Rams. So I like the Rams even taking 1.5 or even 1.
And you make a great point. point is that ultimately it doesn't matter if a line moves 7 points if you trust your numbers enough to think there's still value. The catch-22 is most people don't trust their numbers that much, and thus once they're getting the worst of it based on what the odds makers thought or the opening Chris or bookmaker, whatever you want to call them now, whatever they opened at, if you trust that, hey, they could be that wrong at that open, that's always tough for me. It causes me pause with my, with your numbers or anyone's. If Chris thought it should have been 3 when they opened up and were taking big money, and I know the early money's not as big.
Well, I think a lot of people go back and look at opening lines, and I've said this before. I think you have to start looking at that opening line at about 5 o'clock on Sunday. Now, that's not really the opening line, but that's a line that's been beat up a little bit at that point. So I think that's a truer opening line.
No, I agree, but the reality is Chris opened that number thinking they were going to split the action at 3, and the fact that they didn't.
Well, evidently they're wrong.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's lots of moves every week.
It's a primetime game. It's going to get a ton of recreational bettors money, and they're going to come in on Arizona.
So which brings up a last point. Do you wait and hope this goes back up?
I think well, obviously the professional bettors, the wise guys, call them what you will, they got down already. I think now once the public gets involved, the way they're going to bet this is the Arizona side. They're not going to be in love with the Rams at this number. It looks like a coin toss at this price. They're going to be on Arizona. I think the only way the line can go is back up. But if the books want to take a position themselves, they may not want to see more sharps get involved by giving them that number once again, because they know they're already looking for the home dog.
All right, we've talked it through. Let's make it official.
I like the St. Louis Rams plus 1.5, my best bet of the week.
So we told him, we said, all right.
You still give me the hand.
He's got some good information.
You're giving me the hand, though. I'm watching the hand.
We gave you some good, you gave us enough info. We're going to let you do the next video.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, I tell you, I'm really excited, all joking aside, to have this bookmaker's perspective, because it's not so much, Chris is a good handicapper, no doubt, but it's not that. It's that he's been taking these bets so much. The combination of UVR and Chris, you reading the data, and him having so much experience seeing the bets come across the table, I think we're going to learn a lot. You can get all of our videos at pregame.tv.